October, finally.
It is October, but
And
you couldn't tell it from the weather.
Things are looking pretty good, though. Unemployment just came out last week, 2.8%.
2.8, that's a great number, but those numbers sometimes, unless you look at what's behind them, and the fact that 5,000 jobs have been added fairly quickly to the local economy, I think that's a very good sign. It contributes to that 2.8, but that's where the rubber hits the road. And as you can tell from all the help wanted signs, especially help wanted signs from long-term traditional well-paying jobs in Anderson at Michelin, they're looking for people. First Quality has signs everywhere, and a lot of the other industries. So it's really, if you're looking for a job and you have some skills, now's the time to latch on and grow with one of these new companies.
I think we mentioned this last time. Wages are up too.
Yeah, one of the things we're happiest about in the last 10 years is going from around $13 per hour to almost $20 an hour. And I'm sure that that's going to go up when that study's done next year. And by the way, that's not a study that we do. That's not some home cooking numbers. That's numbers that we get from the state and the federal government. So we're real happy about that.
How close are we to not having enough people to fill all our jobs?
Well, if you listen to some employers, we're already there.
Yeah, I hear people complaining about now we don't hire good people.
Yeah, but one of the things that people have to realize is that, a lot of those people who are getting these jobs are leaving lower paying jobs open. And so, there's a way to step up this ladder. You also have some people moving into this area to take advantage of these jobs. As we've talked earlier, half the people who live in Anderson County now are not from Anderson County. But I think it's great that in the past we were sending our best and brightest out. And now we're able to have some opportunities here where they can decide to stay here if they want to, or they can go out and have an adventure for 4 or 5 years and then decide, really, I want to come back home. But there's a place for them to come back home. And maybe in the past there weren't that many opportunities. So I just think it's a good situation for us to be in.
Let's talk about a couple of big ones. I don't think we've talked about TTI lately. They're very quietly continuing to expand.
Well, they're continuing. The Crystal Palace is up. And about 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned earlier, about 900 people moved from 28 Bypass out to 81. And they're continuing to build, and they're continuing to grow. And their tool store is probably about 70% complete. Everybody remembers the old days when they would have the big Ryobi tool sale once a year. Well, now there's going to be a store that's going to be available 7 days a week in Anderson, and people will be able to go there and take advantage of those bargains. So they're doing that. But also, TTI owns those 2 front parcels where the old service station used to be. That's been cleaned up, and those are absolutely wonderful sites for a hotel and a restaurant. And we have a whole lot of people interested in locating in that situation, because TTI, a lot of people come to that facility for training from all over the world. So there's a huge demand for places to stay. And if you could be right out the front door, I think you'd have a lot of guaranteed business. Of course, if you have a hotel in Anderson now, if you saw the number on our Airbnb, our rate's 8th in the world, 278% increase, which I attribute to Lake Hartwell in the fishing tournaments. Because if it was just Clemson football, it would have been that way the year before and the year before. So something's going on. We mentioned before that if Lake Hartwell was a national park, it'd be the 10th most visited park in the country. Another interesting thing that we're doing, we are having people, if you go to Lake Lanier, they have resorts on Lake Lanier. If you go to Lake Norman, you have facilities, and a lot of these other lakes. But now we have interest from people who want to build campgrounds at Asbury Park, which used to be a vibrant campground, but they want to put it under private control. We have people who are looking to build lodges out on Lake Hartwell. We've had people interested in going to Andersonville Island and turning that whole island into a resort. And we're actively working with these people now. And as a matter of fact, we've had meetings with the investors and with the Corps of Engineers, and the Corps is completely on board on us doing something like this. So that's going well.
But TTI, I think it's important. You make these announcements and then all these things happen. And TTI, when they came here, what they promised then and what we have now are 2 entirely different things. It was going to be big, but not...
It was going to be big, but it wasn't going to be this big. It's like when we announced First Quality. It was big. It's going to be $1 billion. Well, it's $1.5 billion now. You always come in and set that bar low. A&E, our Irish switchgear company up here, they're looking to expand. I mean, everybody around here is expanding, and just in the last 2 weeks going visiting different companies and talking to different people. I was out at Sargent Metal recently, and if you go to the Empire State Building and ride an elevator there, that was made here in Anderson. Okay, those kind of things just stick with me. I went out and took a tour with Mr. Vickery the other day at his son's machine shop on McGee Road. And I walked in there and there were these metal things. And I said, "What are those?" He said, "Those are designed to put the screws in your hip when you get a new hip." And they're made over there in Anderson. And I mean to a very high exacting quality. I thought that was fascinating. And I started saying, we need some of those to show off, but just the things that are going on around here and how people are reacting to all the other people coming in. And one of the things that we want to do is we do it to a degree now, but I think we need to make sure all of our industries know what all of our industries are doing, because there's a lot of cross-fertilization that we need to accentuate to push a little bit stronger than I think we have in the past, because I think we can just keep that money twirling around in Anderson forever and a day, and that's always the best way to do it.
Well, when you mentioned that, it made me think of Arthrex. And obviously,
In Arthrex, I mean, they're making a deluxe screwdriver to put your hip on, and right up the road they're making every part for your body except things to do with your back. I just think this is absolutely fascinating, and Clemson is creating a multidisciplinary program to train people to go sell tools for Arthrex. And I call them tools, but it may be your joint or your ankle. So all of this stuff, and it's going on right here in Anderson County.
they're getting more and more interested in moving more of their operations to Anderson. Is that correct? Or is that overstating it?
I don't know if that's overstating it. All I know is I read the Naples Daily News, which is where they're headquartered. And I think that they have some issues with housing for people who work in their facilities. And I'm just hoping that they will move more here. They have 2 buildings up. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a third, and I think we may see a fourth. But I really would like a whole lot more here. I'm pleased as punch with what we have.
And how many jobs are we looking at total here?
I think eventually there'll be 2,000 jobs there. I think we have about 120 people working there now. And I'll tell you one of the things, there's 2 guys, and I'm not going to mention their names, but they worked at a real nice company here, and now they're working at Arthrex. And they literally take pictures of what they had for lunch at Arthrex in the Arthrex cafeteria and show them to their other friends, saying, "This is what I had for lunch." I think that's pretty cool.
And this other one I wanted to ask you, I don't want to get into a lot of exacting details on the issue, but there's a lot of people that discuss this, but remind people, we're talking about First Quality and Arthrex and TTI, of the importance of fee in lieu of tax agreements that have helped Anderson County become one of the fastest in the nation to recover from the 2008 depression.
Well, there's a constitution that was done in 1895, okay? It was done by the agrarian reformers. One of the benefits that we got out of the agrarian reform movement was Clemson University, which is a good investment. The other thing we got was a very high corporate tax rate. And why did they impose a very high corporate tax rate? To make sure that industry didn't come here, so that we would have plenty of people to work on the farm for next to nothing. So, in its wisdom, 35 years ago off the top of my head, the state legislature formulated a plan that is found to be constitutional that allows us to bring that corporate rate down. The first fee in lieu ever done in the state of South Carolina was the Michelin plant in Sandy Springs. And so it allows us to be competitive with North Carolina and Georgia and all of these other places. And people say, well, you're giving too much away. Well, if they don't come here, that's zero. And a lot of people look at it as, here's a company and we're helping them, and I don't understand. Well, if you're hiring or employing 1,000 people, those people are buying cars. They can send their kids to school. They can get off the free lunch program. They can buy houses. They can have a great quality of life, and they can afford to pay taxes. And so it's not this, it's this and this and this. And, I mean, we had a meeting, 4 counties got together last week, and that question came up, and Chairman Kervin of the Greenville County Council said it best. He said, if we don't have this, we don't have anything. Nobody will come here. And it works, it will continue to work, and it's just a plan that allows South Carolina to participate in the economic growth in the United States on a level playing field.
And in Anderson County, without it, we have no Michelin, we have no First Quality, we have no TTI, we have
No,
no
they would be going.
Arthrex,
They would be going other places. I mean, TTI was looking at Charlotte and Atlanta. That's not what somebody told me. That's what I know. And all of these other companies, I'd just send they be here in Anderson and hire 1,000 or 2,000 people and pay them a whole lot of money so our people can have jobs and our people can do better. It's as simple as that. Getting back to Green Pond, which we were talking about, as you know, we're blowing up things right now out there to increase the handicap parking and make it more accessible. Last week we had a bass tournament. This weekend we have another bass tournament, and then we have some super huge bass tournaments coming up, and that gets all over the country. I mean, we're written up in obscure magazines that nobody's ever seen, and they're talking about Lake Hartwell and they're talking about Green Pond, and that's why that Airbnb number is going up, and that's why these investors are coming here to look on putting resorts and hotels on Lake Hartwell. All of it's just feeding onto each other.
And the Elite Series coming back in 2020.
In the Elite Series coming back in 2020, I mean, you know, if we're not the capital of bass fishing, I don't know where it is.
Well, you're talking about people looking for a resort. Has there been any discussion or thought of maybe a event center sitting up on the hill at Green Pond, kind of?
Oh, there's absolutely. If I had $1 zillion, I'd go put one up there. It would be all made of glass. It would be up on that
Be the
high
jewel
hill.
of the South, wouldn't it?
It would be the jewel of the South, and you could look out and you could see all of Lake Hartwell and everything right there. It would be great. But here's a fun thing that we're fixing to do, and it's not fun. It has a real purpose. And I have to give credit to Mr. Hopkins and our other people. We're going to put underwater lights on the ramps. So, you know, even if it's dark or it's daybreak or the sun's going down, you will be able to see those lights underwater. And I think that's going to be real nice. But if we had the Crystal Palace out there, that would be great. But one of the things we've run into, but we know it, we run into it, is we run into a lot of granite. But when you're across the old river from the granite capital of the world, you're going to run into granite. So we've decided to take some of those big boulders and we're going to be placing them strategically around the county. So we try to use everything that we have. But so
Well,
we've
Manhattan
got that
seems to have
going
built
on.
on granite and bedrock okay.
Huh?
Manhattan seems to have done okay building
Yeah,
on granite and
it
bedrock.
works.
You can build on it.
Yes.
Well, Green Pond, though, how soon are the lights going to be in? Do we know?
Maybe in the next month or two.
With it, it's going to come a lot of growing pains. Are we anything like security issues and stuff? I know you get
Well, as you
bathrooms
know,
out there.
we put that brand new, beautiful bathroom out there, and we have a camera out there. As a
Right.
matter of fact, we have more than one camera. So a couple of weeks ago, beginning precisely at 4:02, some visitors decided to deface that bathroom. Well, I'm happy to report that because we have that camera, 5 people have been identified, and they're in some state or process of being brought to justice for what they did. But I mean, it was just senseless vandalism. But anyway,
But it's just so isolated. I mean, I just wondered.
that's the only incidents we
They're
had.
increasing cameras in the parking lot. They're working on that.
Yes, but we're putting cameras in a lot of places, and that's good and that's bad because you know I don't want the government spying on me, but I also don't want people going out there and defacing property that the citizens paid
Or stealing
for,
your boat trailer. Or
or
something.
stealing your boat trailer or doing something like that. But anyway, we're dealing with that, and as you know, we're going to start some new work out at Kid Venture next week.
That's the next thing I was going to ask you. Where is Kid Venture? It's been closed a couple of weeks now. Where are we on that reopening?
Well, we're still looking at it, and some of our equipment might need to be replaced. And we had a meeting last week with the city, and we do a lot with the city of Anderson, and talking about the city's plans and our plans to make Kid Venture the first completely ADA playground in Anderson County. And I think we'll be working towards that with the city to make that a reality and a possibility. So that's going to be a real
there aren't
nice
many
thing.
of those anywhere.
No, there are not many of those anywhere, but there needs to be one in Anderson, and we need to have it. And the city wants to do it, and they know we need to have it, so why not do it together? So we're going down that road holding hands, and it's good. Like we're holding hands on the new hotel development and other things
Does
that
that
we're
slow
doing.
things down, the partnership, sort of?
No, no.
I just wonder, because a lot of people are asking, 2 weeks, how much longer is it going? Do we have a timetable on when it may be open again?
It'll probably be open in about a week. Is
Oh.
what I would have to guess. If it would ever quit being 100 degrees,
Right.
and you know, just some people, it's just amazing to me. You know, it's 100 degrees. Maybe you ought to touch the slide before you put your kid on it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And we put a sign out there, said, you know, it's closed, but we have video. The only thing that sign does is give them something to climb over to get into the playground. But next week it's going to have to be closed for a while because we're going to be doing work in the parking lot and things like that. So there's some construction activity that's
You
going
and
to
I
take
remember the
place.
hot slides of the days gone by.
Oh, absolutely. You get 8-degree burns going down the slide, you know. But after a while, you learn that I think I'm going to touch this before I do that.
That's good, because a lot of people, you know, it has become more and more used as
It is used and
Civic
it
Center
needs
grows. And
complete.
that just kind of takes us to the Civic Center. There's some improvements coming up out there.
Civic Center, well, we have things going on out there, working on the ball field, working on concession areas and things like that, because it continues to get more and more and more use out of the Civic Center, and it's not going to stop. It's only going to increase. It's our central park, and that's where you go when you want to go have a birthday party, or you want to go to the playground, or you just want to walk on the trails, or you just want to go sit under the shade and be left alone, or you want to go play frisbee golf, or you want to play pickleball, or you want to play tennis. We having people telling us we need a place for lacrosse and
Bocce, yeah.
bocce. We got a little bocce court, but it's not right yet. It's not right yet. So just a whole lot of things going on
And
out
Celebrate Anderson, despite the weather, went
there. I think we had 10,000 people there. And we appreciate Michelin for being a big sponsor of that, and Arthrex, and a whole lot of our companies, Duke Energy, helping to make that a free event, and so we're excited about that. We're also excited about the Anderson or Carolina Grinder House movie that's coming out that was filmed in Anderson, featuring all Anderson actors, and we're going to have a premiere. And I say we are.
Right.
We're working with them. They're driving the train
Right.
to have a premiere out at the amphitheater, which will be free and be a family event. So I'm looking
Horror
for.
movie made by local folks.
Yeah, and I'm looking for, because I think there are a whole lot of local folks in it and a whole lot of local scenes, so we'll be able to sit there and go, well, I know that, I know that, I know that, I know that person. So that, I'm looking forward to that.
And probably one of the second most attended things is coming up, the Anderson Bluegrass Festival.
Yeah, that's coming up. That'll be a 3-day event, and we have Rhonda Vincent and the Rage and a whole lot of
Pretty much anybody you've ever heard
Pretty
in
much
bluegrass.
anybody you've ever heard in bluegrass, except the Steep Canyon Rangers and a couple of people like that. But it's going to be good, and like I said, it'll be 3 days, starting at 12 o'clock every day and going until 10 o'clock at night. So that's coming up at the Civic Center, and that's always a great event. It brings a lot of people in.
And we finally got the track out there situated after
Yes.
over the years having problems in there. We got it. We won't have any problems with it.
Well, hopefully it won't have any problems.
Yeah, you can't guarantee anything.
You know, can't guarantee anything.
Nature always wins.
Yes, it always wins in the end.
All right. Let's talk about the airport a little bit.
Okay.
I talked to Hugh yesterday about a lot of the good things going on out there. Seems to be more and more traffic that it reflects what you're talking about on corporate stuff, and the new terminals have been slowed a little bit. He said it was slowed by a lack of construction workers.
Well, there's a lack of construction workers, there's a lack of paving contractors, there's a lack of everything, because there's not enough people to go around. In 2008, a lot of people got out of the construction business, and a lot of contractors and a lot of paving companies went under. And a lot of those people went and found something else to do. I mean, if you look around, paving contractors are having a statewide effort to train people to work in the paving industry. There are people talking right now, we need to train a new generation of carpenters because there are not enough of those skilled trades to go around. Now, it's probably 70% complete, but it's going to be wonderful when it's completed. And we're about to update our master plan at the airport, so that's good, and take care of some other problems. But, and finally, get the first real fire truck we've ever had out at the airport, rather than something we put together with baling wire and duct tape. And it's only going to cost us around $18,000, but the truck cost around $350,000, but we're going to get a grant. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I learned when Clemson played Texas A&M. I went out to the airport that Saturday morning, and the airport was covered. And if you had a Learjet, you were a poor person, because there were Gulfstreams, everything out there covered up. And I said to myself, those people at Texas A&M have more money than we do. And it was a beautiful sight to see all of those corporate jets. Clemson was slammed too. We got some of their spillover. And always does my heart good is when I see the Mary Kay jet come in. Because the lady who is, and I think she's the distributor for all Mary Kay in Texas, her daughter goes to Clemson. And so she flies to Texas to see her daughter. Of course, we got a company from a man from California. It's a huge company now, up in the Jimmy Wilson Industrial Park. He never knew about Anderson, but his daughter was in California, and she decided to go to Clemson. And so, coming back and forth, he said, I think I'll move my company from California to Anderson. And he did. And he's double the size of his company. He does safety products and things like that. So, those are just little stories.
Well, I just think the airport, people think because they can't book a flight out of there, it's not a real airport, but it's, for our community, it's pretty important to have this piece of the puzzle.
People need to realize that Anderson is a market center, okay? If you're in Abbeville, more than likely you're coming to Anderson. Greenwood, we get a lot of Greenwood traffic. You know why? Because we have a Target. We get traffic from Oconee and we get it from Pickens. But all of the counties on the other side of the river come here. This is where they come. And this is where they shop. And if you have an industry in Hart, Elbert, or something, and you're landing your corporate jet, you're landing here in Anderson. And we make our money at the airport on the sale of jet fuel. That's how that airport runs, and the airport supports itself. Tax dollars don't support it. Now, when we built the terminal, we put in some tax dollars to help that, but generally it runs itself and pays for itself. So you got the new terminal. We've got some other things going out there, sprucing up some things. We've got a big demand for increased number of hangars out there. We're hoping to work around that situation to accommodate those people. And the money that comes into the airport is really just gravy money. That is found money. And they come here, they'll get out, they'll probably eat somewhere, they'll take somebody out to eat, or they'll go to First Quality, they'll go to Arthrex, they'll do all these things. So, that airport is critically important to the vitality of Anderson County. And when we used to have air service, regularly scheduled air service, it was subsidized by the federal government all across this country. And when those subsidies died down, they said, well, we got to go where we make money.
And speaking of finding money, I think we've now had, 18 town halls?
We have had 18 town halls. We had one last night in Powdersville, had 32 people in attendance. And it seems now that attending all of those town hall meetings and a meeting at Homeland Park last night, there's never been this many town halls. Not since the founding of Anderson County have there been this many town hall meetings. But it seems to be, just from attending most of these, is that everybody agrees that something needs to be done to the 1,534 miles of county roads. That's universal. How to pay for it is the issue. Now, a road fee has been proposed, but there's another proposal too, and that is to do a transportation penny sales tax and do that for 10 years. It would bring in $20 million a year. 30 to 35% would be paid for by people who don't live in Anderson. There would be no additional fee on your car or your property tax. And if you had that much money for 10 years, you could fix every county road. And again,
and bring them up to speed.
Bring them up so you don't have to get your car realigned every other day or there's not a pothole. And again, we're talking about the house in front of your house. We're not talking about 85. We're not talking about South Carolina 81. Those are state roads. They're 4 kind of roads. They're private roads that we don't touch because somebody decided they were private. They're the roads in the city by law that the city must maintain. Now, we would share this money with the city because they're Anderson County residents too. They're state roads and they're county roads. State has 1,250 miles of state road in Anderson. We have, again, 1,534 miles. And so we need a revenue source to take care of those roads and to make it as easy as possible. Because what I'm telling you, it seems to be the consensus in these meetings that we wouldn't mind a penny sales tax, and they realize that a lot of that would come from people who get gas on 85 and get a hamburger and go on through. So again, that's almost like found money from people coming through. So that seems to be gaining a lot of steam right now.
Do we have a timetable on voting on something?
I imagine we have 2 or 3 more town hall meetings scheduled, because I mean, if they're the only place we haven't been to, and it's not in Anderson County, but I don't think we've had one near Possum Kingdom yet.
So more town halls before anything else comes to vote?
I feel sure that there'll be a couple more at least. And a lot of the other meetings that council people have, like we had a meeting in Powdersville last night to discuss the road fee. We also had a meeting with 2 members of council in Homeland Park last night to discuss the continuing efforts at Homeland Park to revitalize that area. But that also turned into a discussion on how do we fix our roads.
Well, that kind of reminds me, the Homeland Park area, council approved at the last meeting negotiating a lease on a building in Watson Village for a sheriff's substation.
To put a substation down there, hopefully that will become, we've already done all of the paperwork. We're still working through some details on that. We think that will be good. That gets a lot of traction.
It's important for that community.
It is very important. That community's we've put a lot of time and effort in it, which we should. And they have some very active citizens groups down there who meet, and we were with one of those groups last night, and they are dynamic and on the ball.
What about, where are we at on the sewer projects? I know we were talking about partnerships with Clemson and Pendleton along 85.
We had a large sewer meeting yesterday with all the county staff, and we were talking about, even though we've looked out 20 years, we have to look again. And we know that 81 North is about to blow sky high. And so we're ready, we're getting ready, we've got our plans and everything there, but we know that area is going to go. We also know the Pendleton area is growing and may even reach the point where it's growing like Powdersville, because it's going to come this way from Clemson, and it's going to come this way from Anderson. And so we know those things are going to be happening. And we're still trying our best to put land use regulations in effect. So where you put business where business should go, but leave a lot of our great, beautiful green space open so we can still have the best of both worlds. So that's the balance that council's always working on all the time. So.
Well, sewer's one of those things people don't want to talk about or hear about because it's so complicated.
Nobody wants to talk about sewer. Nobody wants to talk about how much sewer costs. Nobody wants sewer anywhere near their house. But if you don't have sewer, then we're all going to go back to farming, which wouldn't be bad.
But the ones on the interstate, where are they at? I mean, are we still in the plan?
We're actually getting the plans done, and we're almost at the point of putting some of this work out for bid. Specifically up in the Liberty Highway area, which we are bone dry there. We can't let anything go there, and we have large tracts of land right near the interstate that people want to go to right now. So hopefully,
then 11 and 14 are next, or is that
yes, to get all those done.
So the priorities are shifting because there's demand has already risen in other places so quickly.
And it's going to continue to do that. Council voted $28 million to take care of the sewer. And if we put sewer everywhere, people needed it to be $100 million. We're not going to do that, but that's where we are on that.
Are we ever going to get a Trader Joe's or Lidl's or any of these other grocery stores that seems everybody?
Well, we have Aldi, and I know you favor Lidl's, but I haven't seen a Lidl's yet. It's odd that Lidl's are in Greenwood, but not here.
In Spartanburg.
In Spartanburg. And, and you know they're both.
And they have Aldi's there too.
And they were related at one, but Lidl and Aldi, same family. So I don't know how that works out, but we don't have one of those. But I know that we're getting a new Aldi in Powdersville because we've already done the plans or approved the plans for a new Aldi in Powdersville. Of course, Powdersville commercially is just blowing sky high. But I think you're going to see that coming down Clemson Boulevard too.
About Trader Joe's, anything?
I have
not. Do they contact? How does that work? I'm just curious. Do they contact y'all or?
A lot of people always say all y'all do is economic industrial development. Nothing could be further from the truth. Who do you think they're going to call? We're looking to go here. What are the demographics here? What are the land use regulations? What are the building codes? What's here? What's not there? So yes, we talk to these people, and we talk to them constantly, and they're talking to us constantly. And you know, it's like if you had a little thing to make cookies, a cookie cutter. When you hit the right level of traffic, income, and density, they'll come. They just go around the country going, that fits, that fits. And with our rise in wages and those things, that's when you get a Trader Joe's, when you get an Earth Fare, you get things like that.
But we'll probably have something of that before too.
Oh,
I mean,
so a couple of those entities have been bumping around up in the Powdersville area.
right.
But if you've ever been to the Mega Ingles up there, I mean, that Ingles in Powdersville is a palace.
It's been, you know, most of a year now since the county took on self-insurance for employees. How's that working out?
Our employees, 98% absolutely love it. And this is a radical departure. And our people love it. 2% don't like it. We're working with them to work out some problems. I think that, and we never said we were going to save money, but I think we're going to come out kind of even. And when we were with the state, they were bumping it every year and bumping it every year. And no matter what we did to take care of ourselves, we didn't get any benefit of this. And I think our first year, we have a lot of people who had never been to the doctor. And so a lot of those people now are in better health because they actually have access to health care. If
Affordable.
you pick affordable, and if you pick our direct access plan, when you go to the doctor, there's no copay. And other groups are contacting us and saying, we would like to get in on some of this. And Rita Davis, our genius chief financial officer, has been invited to go speak to national conferences. How are y'all doing this? Do we have bumps that we have to get through? Are we learning things? Yes, but right now, it's the best thing for us. And I think it's the best thing for the taxpayers of Anderson County.
Well, always, as we start wrapping up, we talk about when the Christmas tree's going up this year. We talked about a little early maybe this year because it's so popular.
Well, we started last year, but we're lighting that Christmas tree before Thanksgiving. And you and I have talked about this, but I'm not going to sit here and watch all these people come home for Thanksgiving, which may not be able to get here for Christmas, and come down and see a pretty Christmas tree that's not lit up. So when families come home to Anderson County, they can come see the county Christmas tree and it will be lit up. This won't take away from the official Christmas tree lighting that we do, but it's not right not to have that tree lit up, and I can already tell you that I've checked on it and it's growing.
I was going to say the electronic fertilizer continues.
The electronic
to be
fertilizer,
applied.
it's growing. So we expect it to be a little taller this year.
And there's been weddings there, and
There have been weddings,
groups and-
family pictures. If you go around, you'll see people. That's where their postcard for Christmas is, in front of that Christmas tree. And I told you one Sunday night, I got a call. Somebody, the Christmas tree's out, and we're fixing to get married. And it was like 6:30 on Sunday. So I called Brian Richardson, our chief facilities officer. So Brian and I came down here. He was able to save the day. So we got it turned on so they could get married. But we like that.
Well,
It's not Rockefeller Center in the Christmas tree there, but that's what we're going for.
Well, and the new courthouse is not Rockefeller Plaza, so yeah, we're
No.
Well, but the other good tidings of great joy is, if I did my math right, we're past the break-even point of the tree paid for itself already.
Yes.
We're having to pay every year.
Yeah.
It's good news for taxpayers not
yeah.
to buy a new tree every
Yeah,
year.
and we're not killing a tree every year.
Right, a big one that.
Yeah.
As we're moving toward the end of the year, is anything else big coming up?
Well, we're going to have our quarterly review where we are on the budget coming up probably in the middle of October. So we'll be doing that to look where we are and what we're doing. And we're still tweaking things. Still one of the things the council I think is very happy about is when they brought our salaries for our sheriff's deputies in line. We were becoming the training ground for police departments and sheriff's departments all across the state. And I think our people leaving our sheriff's department, that's not the only part, but they're not being forced to leave to go feed their families because they can go make some money somewhere else. And so council's very pleased with that, and I think the sheriff's department's very pleased with that. It just seems like everybody's working well together. And the county and the delegation work well together, so everybody seems to be on the same sheet of music.